Welcome to Real People, Real Matters. This is Diana Tulchinsky. We're on location with Elisa Boughner, Artifacts Galleries.
Nice to be here.
I had some questions about your studio. I came here over the summer and I just realized I love the paintings. How did your family inspire you?
Well, when I was little, my parents encouraged me to draw because they saw that I liked to draw whenever we went out, and they saw that I could draw in perspective, so they thought that was pretty interesting and cool. So they really encouraged me to continue to draw.
Tell me the woman you're named after.
My aunt is my father's sister, and she was an artist as well, but she passed away, was killed in a car accident. But I was named after her, which is interesting because she was the only other artist in the family.
What city in Chicago were you born in?
I was born in Evanston.
Wonderful, right to Evanston.
My dad was transferred to Mexico when I was 4 years old, and grew up there till I was 12, and then they decided to move to back to Chicago, and they actually found a home in Glenview, and so I grew up here in Glenview.
Oh, back in Mexico City, how did you like your private schooling there?
It was great. I mean, it was an American school that a lot of other American transferred kids were going to, but also a lot of Mexican kids, that grew up in the area, and half the day was in English and half the day was in Spanish. When I was learning to read, they found that I had trouble, so my parents actually put me in art classes to encourage me, to give me some self-esteem, because I had trouble, like dyslexic, and so I took art classes back then, and they started hanging my paintings in their home, and so that encouraged me to keep on going. I always loved art, so it was something that I was drawn to.
What is your favorite Mexican artist now? Well,
I don't have a single favorite artist. I think that the artists that I really loved were the artists that I saw at the bazaars that were down there. My parents used to go to on weekends for fun on Saturdays. It was called Bazaar Sábado, which one of my friends has a father who would loom rugs for a living, and he would sell them at this bazaar. And I loved looking at all his rugs and how intricate and beautiful they were, and colorful and non-perfect. And I loved that about them. Yes. And I think that in my artwork as well is something that I strive to create, is something that's not perfect, because then it keeps you drawn back to it and again, something that's, beautiful but not perfect.
Oh, that's wonderful. How did you like to transition from Mexico City to Glenview when you entered junior high? Or
I was in 6th grade, so that was a really tough time, but I'm a quiet person, so I kind of melded in the background and made friends where I could, and it was hard, and I thought that taking Spanish would be a great way to get a good grade, but I found out that it's harder to take a language, when you've just spoken it and go into and all the grammar and everything else. It was much more difficult than I thought. So, but yeah.
Yeah, was the dialogue different from Mexico City than Glenview Junior High, or?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So yeah, it was. But it's interesting. I think living in another country gives you a really good perspective about the world and about people. So I am grateful for that.
And in high school, you went to New Trier West?
I did. I went to New Trier West, which was a great school. It was like a mini college campus. I took art, and they had tons of different kinds of art available there. And I took serigraphy, and I loved that. And I think when I went to college, that's what I decided to major in, was printmaking, because that was an interesting form of art.
Were you an outstanding achiever at New Trier West?
No, definitely not.
No.
I was never a student who a teacher would say, you know, that I was like a great art student or a great student. No, I was definitely passionate about art, but I wasn't one of the students that a teacher would say, this is my star student.
No.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to concentrate your brain to abstract or composition, or in the high school years?
I think so. I think that when you're in high school or you're learning, you want to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You want it to look like pieces you see, you know, you want it to be a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge way of failing is to start out thinking that it's going to be a great thing, because it really curbs your ability to actually create something.
Do you remember the moment you met your husband?
I do. He was. We were taking photography class. I was a junior and he was a senior, and I spotted him helping other students do things, and I thought, what a nice guy. Wow. And so I actually asked him to turnabout that year, and that's it.
Was he known to be a photographer, or?
That's his passion, is photography. Yeah, black and white, the kind that you go into the darkroom and produce yourself.
Was it hard transitioning yourself from high school to college, finding the right college for you, or?
I think that it's hard to leave your house and go away to school, but I think it wasn't hard finding it. It's a great college. It's a great art school, and I think some of the teachers that I had there definitely molded who I became as an artist. Especially this one teacher I had, who at the time we all hated him because he made us paint or draw or sketch 35 pieces a week.
A week?
A week. And we had to come in and have a critique every week of these 35 pieces. So what it did was encourage you to not think with the right side of your brain and just create, from within. And that was a gift that I don't think anyone can really. He actually gave it to me because he forced me to not think about it, because when you're in school you're having fun, and so you procrastinate, and so the last minute you're trying to produce 35 pieces, and it makes you have to just create without thinking, and that's why I think I can actually paint as quickly as I do.
What countries did you visit during your college life?
Well, when I was a junior in college, I actually went abroad and studied in Austria. Northern Illinois had a program, and it was housed in Salzburg, which is so beautiful. It was wonderful. It was a great experience of traveling and just going to visit art and churches which have art. Everything is kind of geared around art there.
Do you have any memories of Sweden or Czechoslovakia, or just visiting the museums?
Well, when I traveled with one of my friends or two of my friends, and we would hop on a train and go for the weekend, and we'd see churches and the different art there, but also, just go to pensiones and live the kind of street life or bohemian life,
yeah.
And which I think influences and has an impact on, you know, what you do. So, but yeah, sketching while you're doing that was a great.
Did you go to the museum with a sketchbook and just for hours check out your sketches and drawings?
Actually, we would go through museums and look at the pieces, but we never actually sat down and sketched, which is a great thing to do, actually, is to go and do that, but we never did that.
While in Europe, what's your impression about a particular museum that's your favorite?
We actually didn't go to tons of museums, but we did go to churches, and like when we went to Florence, we saw the David, and so I don't think I have a particular museum because there's so many different artworks everywhere that I don't think I could ever have a favorite, actually.
What's your favorite Cubist painting? My
favorite Cubist painting is probably Guernica, which is Picasso's giant painting in Spain about, you know, the war.
Did you read any of his biographies?
I've read several of many artists' biographies. Yeah.
Picasso's?
Picasso's, yes. Yeah. His life is quite interesting and crazy. But
how did you like the blue period? Is there a significant color in the hue or the tone?
The blue period? Yeah. I don't love the blue period. It's too monochromatic for me. But
are you a fan of the Blue Riders group?
I am. I love all the artists in that era, but the Blue Rider especially was a great, very colorful, you know, paintings that they did. So yeah.
Looking at Elisa Boughner, did you find his rich shapes and hues inspiration for your artwork now?
Yeah, I think that I think many artists' colors, but particularly his, I think are very interesting. And when you look at other artists' work, I think it's very inspirational and gets you thinking and your brain working. And so yeah.
What are your favorite paintings of Matisse and Van Gogh?
Well, I love Matisse and Van Gogh, and you can see a lot of, you know, influences in my work. I love Van Gogh's colors, and I love Matisse's patterns, and I love Picasso's way of manipulating things to, you know, as if you're looking at them from 5 different, you know, locations. So that's.
Do the colors of Monet inspire you, of his precision of water lilies and just the earth environmental of Monet?
I think his, I think when I look at his paintings, I think the emotions that you feel when the colors, the combination of colors and the way they're put on canvas, I mean, that's what the inspiration I get from looking at his pieces. They're impactful that way.
And what was your first job after graduation from Northern Illinois?
Well, getting a master's in art doesn't lead to many job options, but so I got a job at a frame shop in Highland Park, and which was actually a wonderful, wonderful thing because it taught me about framing and all the things that I'm doing now at the studio. So it was a great break to be able to work in a studio like that and frame.
How many years did you frame in that studio?
Well, I framed for, I think it was a year, and then I was pregnant with my daughter. So,
what was your first break in the art studio scene?
My first break was when my kids were little. I have 4 children, and when my youngest were going off to kindergarten, I went downtown with my work because I wanted to start getting back into painting and showing my work. And so I was looking at different galleries, and I happened to cross this one gallery where this man, Sam McKenya, he owns his own studio and gallery and shows only his work. And I met him, and we struck up a conversation, and we're talking, became friends, and he offered to host a one-woman show for me if I could get, you know, paintings together. And
how many paintings did you reveal that night?
Well,
the opening.
On the opening, there was 22 paintings, about the same scale as there is here, and it was great. It was a black tie opening, and I invited a lot of people from around here in Glenview, and it was a really great opening, and it kind of opened my eyes to what could possibly be, what I could possibly do on my own, with my own space.
And when you were watching, I think, the devastation of 9/11, what were your thoughts and emotions, like, after that whole time period of 9/11, the morning?
Well, the morning of 9/11, I remember having my kids outside waiting for the bus and hearing that a plane hit a tower, not realizing, you know, the severity. Go inside, turn on the TV, and then the whole thing transpires. And I think, you know, unreality, it just doesn't, you see so many movies where that kind of thing happens, it seems unreal. And I think the real impact was, like a week later, when I had just finished a painting the night of 9/11 at 2 a.m., the night before it happened. And I was delving into some abstract pieces for the first time, and one of my friends came in that week and said, "Oh my gosh, is that a painting of, you know, the towers?" And I said, "No, it's not, but looking at it, it was pretty interesting how prophetic it seemed."
Yeah, it was very prophetic, the images.
And so during that year, I did 5 pieces that were abstract, and they all had that theme of, you know, 9/11. It was something that I think impacted me on a deeper level than my conscience.
Did you feel there was like a war in your heart or in your spirit about in America going on that reflected the towers?
I think that when something like that happens, it changes people's view on things and people, and it's hard to, it's, you know, people react in such severe ways. It's very, I don't know, it's very difficult.
Very difficult, yeah. How did you feel after your portrait, Picasso Whispering?
Well, when I painted my self-portrait, I think it's an interesting piece, but it has like I call it Picasso Whispering because when I finished it, I felt like, you know, it was like he is whispering, you know, in my ear when I...
He's your inspiration.
Some of it, sometimes, yeah. But
how does the portrait of your daughter speak to that bond you have now?
Well, my daughter, I have 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl, and she's my oldest. And we have a good, close relationship. And I love to paint her because she's, you know, she's beautiful. So she finds it funny, and I painted this one. The first portrait actually I painted of her was a giant piece. It was 48 inches by 36 inches, and it was just of her face. And it was of an incident where my husband actually had cut her bangs and cut them too short, so there was half of her bangs were cut short, and she's just sitting there, and years later someone actually wanted to purchase that piece. And I asked her if she wanted it or if she minded if I sold it, and she said, "No, sell it." She didn't love that piece in particular, I guess, but someone else did, so that's good.
Good.
Well, my daughter moved out. She's 27, and to keep her coming back, I'm taking a class with her at the Highland Park Art Center, a ceramics class with Natalie Steinmetz, and she's a wonderful teacher, so it's fun. It's a great way to, you know, connect and stay together and create art.
And when did you open the Artifacts galleries?
When? We opened this, the studio in 2000. Yeah.
How many receptions do you have a year?
We have open studios about 4 to 5 times a year, where we send out postcards and invite people to come in. And
great. What are your future endeavors for your family?
Well, to keep on doing things as a family together, and to future endeavors for the art, for my husband and I, are to hopefully get, you know, get artwork out into different areas and, you know, get it exposed and seen. So I rent a space on Glenview Road, right next to DDK Kitchens on the corner of Glenview and Waukegan Road. And I rent the window space there so that, you know, I can put different pieces there so people can, you know, see the paintings.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you for today.
Thank you for having me, Diana.
You're welcome. Thank you again for watching Real People, Real Matters. This is Diana Tulchinsky on location with Artifacts Gallery. Thank you again for watching. Oh, this is a wonderful original oil painting.
Thanks. I start with, you know, a composition in my, I sketch out, and then I use oil paints, and I start with a monotone and move up from there, but I paint straight from the tube. I don't use a palette, so it comes out as it comes out, so it's interesting. It's an interesting way to do it.
How do you choose the colors you want to work with in the morning?
Well, every day is different, so when I come in today, it could be blue, and then, but if I didn't do it today and I did it tomorrow, it could be, you know, green. So,
did you do any color mixing? I noticed they have so many vibrant hues.
I do on the palette. I mean, on the canvas itself. I paint directly from the tube, and the mixing happens on the canvas itself. Mm. So,
does it uplift your mood to draw every day or paint every day?
Of course, that's what I love to do the most.
Yeah. And what are your brushes like? Do you buy them from a particular store, or how do you?
I buy them from an art store, and I have hundreds of them, as you can see here, and tons of paints, and each piece could require a different brush or a different paint, so it's nice to have that many to choose from.
What are your oldest brushes?
They're actually they're probably 100 years old, some of them. They were handed down from an uncle of my husband's, so he had oil paints as well and some brushes, and so there's a mix of those in my collection.
How important is an artist to keep it fresh of their tools?
Keep it fresh?
Yes.
Like with new stuff?
New.
Well, it's good to go to the art store and look at new paints. It's always fun.
Oh, great. Thank you.